Hey, it's Tomer, and we got a ton of Dragonstorm previews today, including the remaining 8 legendary commanders that are leading the commander precons. So in this video, we're going to check out the 8 brand new legendary creatures coming in the commander precons, but if you're interested in seeing the rest of the Dragonstorm previews that are coming in the standard set, be sure to head on over to mtgpreviews.com, and if you want to pre-order these sweet new cards, you can do so over at our sponsor, cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. Alright, we begin with a new Abzan leader. This is Felthar the Steadfast. It's a 4-mana Abzan legendary creature human warrior. It's a 0/5, and each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender, and you can pay 3 mana, tap it, sacrifice another creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness, then discard cards equal to its power. So this is a brand spanking new Abzan High Toughness Matters commander, and that means that finally, during the Siege Tower, you have been officially power crept, my friend. It's been over a decade since Doran has had its very tiny niche of caring about Abzan and caring about High Toughness Matters, but this is officially the throne. Felthar costs 1 more mana, but it synergizes with Defender creatures, which Doran does not, and it offers a ton of card advantage in the command zone. You can sacrifice your high toughness creatures to draw oodles of cards. So just for 1 extra mana, it's definitely power creeping out Doran. I think you can make the case that Doran is still slightly better as a tree folk commander. I don't think it's true because Felthar just offers so much card advantage in the command zone while doing essentially the same thing. Like, yes, it's not a tree folk itself, but the card draw is undeniably really, really powerful. Felthar is also very similar to Arcades. Arcades is Bant, and it's all about defenders, specifically defenders, not just high toughness matters, but specifically defenders matters, and turns all the defenders you're playing into card draw. Felthar doesn't really work the same way, where Arcades, you just kind of want to play the most mana efficient defenders possible to keep drawing as many cards as possible and kind of combo off. It's more of a combo style deck. Felthar, not so much that. You want to have big butts, and you want to sacrifice them for a ton of value. So it's a different style of high toughness matters to Arcades. It could also be a wall deck if you want to. But yeah, it's an interesting new inclusion to the high toughness family, you can call it. And in terms of things you're going to be doing, you're just doing the same shtick as the other high toughness commanders. So there's some specific support cards for high toughness. Kolfinar, the Last to Use, another Abzan commander that also cares about high toughness and is a very welcome inclusion in the 99 of Felthar. And also, anything you pump up, any toughness you pump up further, like stuff like Slagworm Armor, for example, means you can draw even more cards with Felthar. So with Slagworm Armor, just equip for 3 mana onto a thing you want to sacrifice. Then you sacrifice the Felthar and you draw 6 extra cards. That's kind of ridiculously good. So Felthar, really, really strong, really good as a high toughness matters commander. There's a lot of options obviously available to us in terms of what leads it, but I think the massive amount of card draw on that activated ability puts it just at the top of the heap, at least in Abzan colors. Moving on to Temur, we've got Eshki, Temur's Roar. This is a 3-mana green, blue, and red, so Temur colored legendary creature, human warrior. It's a 2/2, and whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So basically, you want to jam as many 6 power creatures as possible because you're growing your commander, you're going to be drawing cards, and you're going to be dealing a ton of damage to your opponents in the process. So it's Temur, go tall, essentially, and trying to be as mana efficient as possible while doing so. So the game plan here is to play as many 6 power or higher creatures as possible, as cheaply as possible. That's the 1-2 punch that's going to make this commander tick. So something like Uro, the Titan of Nature's Wrath, is the ideal creature to cast when Eshki's on the battlefield. For 3 mana, you're ramping, but then also you're drawing a card, and you're growing Eshki, and you're pinging your opponents. A Rix with these is also another amazing inclusion in the deck. When you cast it, it is a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, it will have slumber counters and will become a land. But for the purposes of Eshki, triggering Eshki, it sees it as a 12/12 creature spell, and you're going to do all those wonderful triggers with Eshki. So that's the style of play I expect to see with Eshki. I think it's really powerful. Just adding a cantrip to all your 6+ power creatures are really good. And obviously, you don't have to spend that much mana to play 6 power creatures. There's a lot of ways of cheating around that. So just a lot of damage. It grows into a bigger and bigger threat, and it can also just kill opponents with its massive ping ability. The next Teamer commander, so the next one in the precon, the Teamer precon, is Ureni of the Unwritten. This is a 7-mana Teamer, legendary creature Spirit Dragon. It's a flying trample 7/7, and whenever it enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So very straightforward dragon commander in Teamer. ETBs or attacks, you can always be putting a dragon creature card just from your library onto the battlefield, so it's card advantage and massive mana advantage. Card advantage because it's not from your hand, it's from your library, so you're essentially like getting to draw a card and then immediately put it onto the battlefield. Obviously, you need to have a critical mass of dragons, but yeah, obviously this is going to be a dragon leader or in the 99 of a dragon deck. Certain things you want to be doing with Ureni, you definitely want to give it haste, so it can ETB and attack on the same turn, smash somebody for 7 immediately, but also get an extra Ureni trigger the same turn you cast it. And you could even go blink with it. You can run stuff like Thassa, Deep Dwelling, or whatever sort of blink enablers you can possibly figure out in Teamer colors. And each time you're blinking Ureni, you possibly get another dragon from your library directly onto the battlefield, which is great. Now, the question is Ureni better than the other very, very popular, very, very powerful Teamer commander, Miirym Sentinel Worm? I think Miirym is overall still stronger as a Teamer dragon leader. It costs 1 less mana, it has War 2, and that's super nice for keeping it around. And Ureni has really powerful blink shenanigans associated with it, but so does Miirym. You don't have to cast a dragon to trigger Miirym, you just have to have the dragon enter the battlefield. So the same blink shenanigans you could do with Ureni is the same ones you could do with Miirym. So the fact that it costs 1 less and it has War 2, I think makes it overall a little bit more powerful. But overall, like, it doesn't really matter which one's in the command zone, which one's in the 99. They're both incredibly powerful, and no matter which one you put in the command zone, the other one is definitely going to be in the 99. So it's a great pickup for basically any dragon deck that can run it. The next commander is the Mardu leader. This is Zurgo Stormrender. It's a 3-mana Mardu legendary creature orc warrior. It's a 3/3 of Mobilize, which is the new Mardu keyword. It says whenever this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses 1 life. So Zurgo is basically Mardu Aristocrats, but with a focus on tokens. It only triggers on your creature tokens leaving the battlefield. But, Mardu is very, very good at making creature tokens, so that's not a huge restriction. It's kind of comparable to, let's say, like Garna, Bloodfist of Keld. The draw and ping ability are basically the exact same as what you find on Garna. Garna triggers on any creature, not just creature tokens. However, she costs 1 extra mana, and she doesn't create tokens with Mobilize 1 like Zurgo does. So I think Zurgo's overall just stronger. Also, Zurgo gives you access to white, which is really important if you're trying to go for creature tokens, because white's really good at producing creature tokens. You can also compare it to Caesar Legion's Emperor. It's also focused not specifically about creature tokens, but it makes creature tokens. It's all about attacking and sacrificing your creatures for value while attacking. So Caesar is a great inclusion in the 99 or as a commander, and then you put Zergo in the 99 there as well. But these are good comparison points to what Zergo is going to be all about. In terms of cards you want in the 99 of a Zergo deck, white is really, really good at creature tokens, as I mentioned previously. Stuff like Secure the Waste is going to be fantastic. Any way of just like dumping as many creatures on the battlefield, creature tokens on the battlefield, as mana efficiently as possible is going to be great in Zergo. And then you definitely also want to have ways of buffing your creature tokens, but also being able to sacrifice them specifically when they're attacking. Because let's say you attack with like a bunch of, like a bunch of creature tokens, like 5 creature tokens or whatever. In the early game and mid game, you'd much rather just have a lot of card draw over just pinging your opponents. So you want to sacrifice them while they're still attacking. So something like Elder, Arthur, Maxon, just being able to sacrifice all your creatures while they're in the attack phase still is really, really key. Then later on, once you've drawn all the cards you need and everything, we're in the late game and you want to start finishing off opponents, you want to start sacrificing them outside of the attack step and then finish the job with the drain effect. So that's the vibe that Zergo does. It's Mardu Aristocrats, but with a focus on creature tokens. It's very, very powerful. It's something we've seen a lot before, so it's very well supported in the colors. And it's going to be really sweet. The next Mardu commander, though, is a little bit different, a little bit zanier. This is Nerev, Crackling Vanguard. It's a 5-mana Mardu legendary creature spirit dragon. It's a 4/4 with flying and death touch. And when it enters, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Whenever it attacks, exile a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. During any turn you attack with a commander, you may play those cards. So this is a very cool tokens matters commander, but it's very different than a lot of the other tokens matter commanders because it cares about differently named tokens. The more differently named tokens you've got, the more card advantage you're generating whenever you're attacking with Nerev. In that sense, it's kind of similar to Gimbal, Gremlin, Prodigy, but just like way better. Gimbal was Teamer and it had all these restrictions and it was focused on artifact tokens or whatever. It was not good. And the payoff was incredibly bad, actually. Like all the hoops you had to jump through of Gimbal, and all you would get in return is just a relatively large creature token that just was a big creature and it was just a beater. Not very interesting, not very good, very forgettable commander. Nerev, though, actually provides a very serious payoff to actually collecting a bunch of differently named tokens, right? You turn all that token making into straight up card advantage. That makes it very much more worth it than poor old Gimbal. So the type of cards you're going to be doing, pooping out, obviously creature tokens like the goblins that Nerev comes with is very good. Then you want to make gold tokens of Curse of Opulence, Smothering Tide, you make treasures. You can drop down an Academy Rector and make a bunch of treasures and then foods and clues and all that good stuff. Nerev can pop off pretty well. It's going to take some time to actually collect all the different tokens, obviously, but the payoff is quite nice here. Definitely invest in haste so you can get Nerev's trigger the moment you cast it. I don't think it's the strongest commander out of the ones we've seen so far. It's 5 mana. It doesn't have a haste enabler, and it does require quite a bit from you. But it's still pretty cool, and I really, really like the art on this one. It's really gosh dang cool. All right, the next one, we move to Jeskai, and we've got Elsha, Threefold Master. It's a 3-mana Jeskai legendary creature, Djinn Monk. It's a 1/1 with trample and prowess. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. So this is all about go wide and prowess, essentially. It's kind of has like monk link, you could call it. Like it's not life link. It's like you deal damage, you create that many monk tokens. So you want to cast a bunch of non-creature spells, pump up Elsha and all your monks, and then swing in, deal a bunch of damage, produce even more monks, repeat the process until all your opponents are dead. So It's very similar to, let's say, a Narset Enlightened Exile, where you give all your stuff. You have like a big prowess board, and you want to make a bunch of tokens. You want to go wide, and you smash face, and then you generate a lot of value out of smashing face. The Archimandrite is also another interesting way to take Elsha too. You could focus specifically on monks, and then try to make it an Archimandrite style deck. Any way you slice it, you're trying to go wide. You're trying to cast a bunch of non-creature spells, a whole bunch, chain them all together in a single turn, and then try to swing for lethal. Certain cards you're going to be looking out for, obviously Elsha and Monastery Mentor both make monk creature tokens of prowess, so they obviously have a lot that works well together. And Monastery Mentor also poops out a bunch of monk creature tokens by casting non-creature spells. And then you just chain together a bunch of non-creature spells and then drop down a finisher like a Chroma's Will, so that all your like 5/5 creatures or whatever become double strikers, 6/6 double strikers, and kill the table. Elsha Threefold Master, I've played a bunch of these style of decks before. I play like Izzet, Prowess-ish, Go Wide, Spellslinger, and also a bunch of the Jeskai, Go Wide Spellslingers like the Narset we just looked at. And it's really powerful, it's very consistent, and it's really fun. Next, we have Shiko and Narset Unified, the other legendary creature that can lead the Jeskai Precon. It's a 4-mana Jeskai, legendary creature, human spirit dragon. It's a 4/4, flying, vigilance, and flurry. Flurry is a new Jeskai mechanic from the set, and they all say whenever you cast your second spell each turn, something good happens. So in this case, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy that spell if it targets a permanent or player, and you may choose new targets for the copy. If you don't copy a spell this way, draw a card. So the baseline here is if you manage to cast 2 spells in a single turn, you draw a card. But if that spell targets something, you get to copy it, which is a huge mana and card advantage. Just pay off. Really, really good. So what type of cards are we going to be trying to cast with Flurry? Well, this is a Narset card, and obviously every single Narset card is up to no good. And this one, why would this one be any exception? So, fun fact, a lot of the extra turn spells target a player. Something like Time Warp, for example, says target player takes an extra turn after this one. So why not just take 2 extra turns for the price of 5 mana? Blatant Thievery. Everybody loves Blatant Thievery. I do, at least, when I'm casting it. Why not have 2 Blatant Thieveries and just like steal everything relevant from all your opponent's boards? Sounds like fun to me. I like it. So I think Narset continues to prove to everyone that no matter her new card iteration, she's always going to be a kill on sight and very miserable for your opponents, but I very much enjoy her. All right, we move to Sultai with Kotis Sibsig Champion. This is a 3-mana Sultai legendary creature zombie warrior. It's a 3/3, and once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control enter, if 1 or more of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Kotis. So Kotis is Sultai self-mill with a creature focus, and it essentially gives the creature spells in your graveyard, what is it called? Escape 3, essentially. You have to exile 3 cards, and then you get to cast them from the graveyard and grow Kotis in the process. It's kind of what Sultai always does, to be honest. It's all about self-mill and with a very strong creature focus. It's kind of similar to Muldrotha, where Muldrotha isn't focused specifically on creatures. It's trying to focus on all permanent types. Sidisi Brute Tyrant, though, very fittingly, works very well in the same realm as Kotis does, where it's also self-mill and also about creatures in particular. So yeah, this is just what kind of Sultai does, self-mill and then casting stuff from the graveyard for extra benefit. And I think Kotis fits right in with all these other Sultai commanders. I don't think it's like the strongest Sultai commander we've ever seen or the strongest self-mill creature deck we've ever seen, but it's still quite good. Stuff that you want to be doing with Kotis: Satyr Wayfinder, Nyx Weaver, creatures that essentially self-mill you are going to be very premium for Kotis, so these type of cards are going to be great. But yeah, this is kind of what Sultai always does, and Kotis does a pretty good job of it. So those were the 8 brand new legendary creatures that you're going to be finding in the Commander precons. We did see these 2 legendary creatures previewed previously. I think it was like MagicCon Chicago, which you got to see them. But yeah, this is going to be the final 2. So if you missed those, there's 10 legendary creatures in the Commander precons, 2 in each precon. And these are the 2 that were previewed previously. So I'm not going to go over them here. I just wanted to show you guys if you missed them previously. You can see them now. But yeah, those are all the new legendary creatures that can lead the new Commander precons. I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize for my voice sounding really weird. My tonsils are very inflamed and it makes it kind of weird to talk. But hopefully you managed to understand everything I said in my garbled mouth. Starting tomorrow, we're going to start seeing all the Commander precons fully previewed once per day. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to have a full deck reveal of each of the Commander decks as they're being revealed. I'm going to do my typical analysis of all of them. And then the week after or so, I'm going to start working on the Commander precon upgrades, as I do or try to do with most of the sets. There are going to be 5 of them. So that's going to be a lot of work, but I'm very excited because I love dragons and I love Tarkir. It's one of my favorite planes. So I'm very excited to see how all these decks are going to end up looking like. So be sure to like and subscribe and check back again tomorrow. And until then, friends, see ya.